This training is designed for dogs who are a little bit more selective with other dogs when it comes to greeting them off leash. So I'm going to go through a four-step process on how to execute this pre-introduction walk and before you decide whether or not you want the dogs to go off leash together. So this is really like a litmus test to be like, are these dogs going to do well together? Are they exhibiting curious, friendly, interested behavior? Or is one of them avoiding, or one of them's overtly intense and isn't calming down? I use this particular process consistently working with dogs who have a little bit of selective dog to dog socialization, and it works really good to break the ice, so to speak, between the dogs and start to develop some positive rapport. So, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and go through what this process could look like for you. So, whether it's your dog who's selective or a friend's, maybe someone just recently adopted a new dog and they don't know how it's with other dogs, or your dog sometimes can vary on how they behave. Either way, it's a great exercise to learn. So, what you're going to do is you're going to start on opposite sides of the street. Let's pretend that's you and this is me with my dog. Now, step one is walking about 30 feet apart, the width of a regular street, but in tandem. So you're directly across from each other. So, phase one, whatever you want to call it, number one is across the street, dogs on the outside. This is the important part. This is makes it as easy as possible. So your only job is to walk in tandem with the other person across the street, but your dog is going to be on your outside of where they are. So if they're on your left, your dog's on your right. Just like in the photo, if you're on the left-hand side and they're on your right, your dog's on your left. So all you're doing is keeping the dogs on the outside. I'm not bringing treats or anything with this. Usually, when I lead towards off-leash interaction, I don't want to have any potential resource things that they might guard or be jealous over or become offensive. So I'm not going to have any of those things with me with this either. So, how long are we going to walk together? Well, we're going to walk up this street. Hopefully, it's a quieter street with not a bunch of other dogs or anything like that. So, try to pick walking areas that are a bit more relaxed. But you're going to walk in this fashion for anywhere between 1 to 5 minutes. Now, we're deciding when to progress to the next level of difficulty depending on how our dogs behave. So what I'm going to look at, we're going to look at each other, and if our dogs are overly intense or excited, we just keep walking until they work some of that energy down and they become more interested in the environment by sniffing or just glancing over and being like, it's not a big deal. It will absolutely happen. It just might take 1 to 5 minutes. And if your dog is overly frantic, most of the time you can just keep them on your opposite side and keep walking and they will de-escalate. Obviously, if you need more specialized advice, I can help that with you with that, but it's not going to be in this video. So phase number two, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the same distance, but all we're going to do is we're going to move the dogs to the inside. You're still going to have them on the same length of a leash, but as you can see, oops, they're slightly closer together. So now what this allows for is they can have a little bit more eye contact and see more of each other, and they're also maybe 5 to 10 feet closer. So we still keep on walking the same direction. I really don't. Oh no. I don't like this number two, but you'll probably be less caring of it than me. I'm going to erase it anyway. There we go. So number two is same position, but dogs inside. Same deal, 1 to 5 minutes. Now, one caveat here or distinction is if your dog lunges towards the other dog and is overly intense, we can walk through it maybe for an extra 30 seconds to see if they'll de-escalate themselves. If they don't, I might have to shorten the leash and pivot between myself and the other dog. So I can try to push my dog back a little bit with a bit of a body block, being like, just can you relax a little bit, please? And then I'll flip back to the opposite side. So keep that in mind. Most of the time, it won't be that big of a deal. They'll just walk in tandem. Phase three is going to be where we actually close the gap by 50%. So obviously, if you're walking up in a park, this can be safer. Then you don't have to worry about traffic, but you got to use what you have access to. So if you're the one who is walking in the middle of the street, be very careful looking for traffic, or literally, if you can walk in a park, that would be the best idea. But cover your butt, basically. So we're going to close the gap. And typically it's by about 50%. So there's still room between them, but we've just gotten a little bit closer. All I tend to do is bring one person closer to the other. We don't both come together because we don't both need to be in the street. Just the one person stays put, the other person closes the gap. Same deal, 1 to 5 minutes, 1 to 3 minutes. Once they're relatively relaxed and not exhibiting any stress where it's physical rigidity, prolonged stare, growling, lip curl, lunging, barking, obviously, none of those things, then we can move to the next phase. As an FYI, if the dog is having a really difficult time, when it takes 10 minutes to get just for them to calm down in phase one, you can just shut down the walk at that point. So they can develop, you don't have to become best friends that day. You can do this over a longer duration of time, but try to end on the high is the basic premise. So if something feels like it takes a long time, you're probably better off to end it there when you've made some progress before you push it further. Phase four is one in front, one behind. So with this one, what we'll do, and typically what I'm going to do is put the more confident dog in front, if you can identify which one that is, and then the other two follow behind. The reason why I like this is because we can artificially have the dog behind see the lesser scary version of the other dog, and that's their butt, right? Butts don't bite is sometimes what I'll jokingly say. So it's also a mechanism where dogs can do a figurative handshake where sniffing butts and behinds provides a lot of information and insight for the dogs. And the more confident dog, they just wait their turn to sniff. Whereas the less confident dog gets access from behind so they can develop a little bit more trust and rapport without actually having to meet the dog. So you're not going to get within striking range, we'll say, but you want to get close enough that you maybe are like 5 to 10 feet behind them. So if the dogs both lunged at each other, they couldn't connect. Safety first, always. But during this phase, you'll be able to see if the dog in front looks back and the dog behind lunges, I'm like, oh, they're not doing great with this. But what this allows is me to see if both dogs, either one of them, have any issues with their behind being smelled. Well, that's naturally going to be one of the places they go to off leash. So I want to know if either one of them have an issue with that. Because if they do, we're going to have to do a little bit more work. So we'll say this is step 4A. Step 4B is just switch positions. So once again, 1 to 5 minutes. If they're all doing good, literally we just change direction. So instead of walking where we started walking this way, well, when we're going to switch positions, we literally just stop and turn around and walk this way because now this dog is behind and this dog's in front. So by the end of this, if they're both are really interested and flirty and soft and really vying to want to get a little bit closer, I'll move on to a fifth phase, which is just to walk back to where I want to introduce them. And side by side is what we'll do. We'll walk side by side. So for example, let's say the dogs do famously, oh, I don't want to do that. And that phase 4A and B goes really well. I'm moving all the wrong things. Then we're going to walk the dogs in tandem, but even closer. Not within striking range, but where they're maybe 3 to 5 feet away from each other. And we walk back to where we're going to introduce them off leash, hypothetically. I'm not suggesting you do or do not. You might need someone to be there to help you. And what they do off leash is a whole nother series of training to set it up for success. But this is a simple way that in 5, side by side, I should put, in 5 of simple steps, you can make it as easy as possible and progressively make it more difficult upon the dog successfully being more interested or at least neutral or calm about being closer to each other. I've used this for the last handful of years, probably 7 or 8 years, and it's a great strategy to introduce as a pre-introduction walk for dog-to-dog socialization and building relationships. If you need more specific info, as always, reach out to me directly or in some fashion, and we can give you a hand with that.